MLB.
It's a limited schedule today. There's only 6 games tonight.
It's 16. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Mayor Joe Taylor Show. Jeff Underwood, Jerry White, and that's your mayor right there.
That is
Mayor,
my mayor.
Mayor, who do you have with you today?
I've got County Commissioner Tim Ramsey, and he's one half of Rainbow City's commission. Craig Enzer is our other part north of here, and he's our. A lot of people like to call him the road commissioner, but they're not road commissioners anymore. They're oversight and overseers for the budget and for the county and all the operations of the county, And so we got Tim Ramsey.
There I am.
Tim and I spent 24
I didn't hit the applause.
years of 24 years of my 25. I was at Gadsden Fire Department. Tim and I were on the same shift most all of that 25
I think the whole
years.
time.
And just worked together, spent a lot of time together. And then Tim's the one, actually is the one that encouraged me to first run for council. And then when I didn't get chosen in that process, he encouraged me to run for mayor.
So it's your fault.
Yeah,
It is my
so
fault.
it is. Yeah,
It is
so
my
we
fault.
blame you.
Rainbow City.
I blame him.
It's all his fault. Jeff Boyd blames me.
Yeah,
bad.
that's right. Yes.
Jeff Boyd's one of my best friends, and I encouraged him to help. And I talked to Joe about him. Jeff's been in the industry forever, and he's just a top-notch guy for recruiting and really doing the things that he does. And I kind of got him involved in that. And now he's in the Challenger group. He's part of that board that worked on Challenger, and what a great board that is.
Oh, absolutely.
You really can't say enough about that. That whole group of people spent their own money
Yes.
and their own, a lot of their time just to make this thing happen. I don't know how we got the Challenger, but we just jumped to it. Go ahead and let's talk about that for a second.
That was a big deal. I mean, I don't think people really understand the impact that Challenger Learning Center is going to have here. And it's twofold for me, because I am looking at it from the position of the mayor. One of the first meetings the first meeting that I took was with Ralph Burke and Don Killingsworth from JSU. And, I asked Don, I said, Don, I need the presence of a 4-year institute inside our city. And you want that for economic development, because you want people that are going to come here and they're going to displace and bring their families here to do business. They want to know that they can send their kids and send their workforce to a 4-year institute. And JSU foots the bill for us in every single way. They have so many programs, including adding aviation now with this whole connection to the Challenger Center. It all begins to work out and lay out to be a perfect plan. But having JSU as a part of the Challenger Learning Center gives me both the Challenger Learning Center in Rainbow City and having JSU as a presence with a 4-year institute. And that's the biggest win that any mayor can ever hope for, is to have this thing. Because if you look at it, this is no doubt. Jameson Jenkins actually made a statement to Jeff Prince when they were walking through the building. Jameson said, "I can't believe we're in Rainbow City," and which is really high regard when you start thinking about, we know what we are, we know what our identity is, and what the personality of our city is. We are a growing, thriving city for sure, but we're still small. Yeah. And I think we can keep that hometown environment, and yet we know that the important things for us to grow in a positive way is to be able to bring educational opportunity, workforce opportunity into our city. And that's what we've done with this place. This place is incredible.
It is. It's serves 12 counties.
Yep.
They said something like 50,000 students a year going to use that. That's huge. And how many people will that influence on to get into some kind of STEM education, motivate those kids to really do well and to focus on that? This is our future of Alabama. Yeah. And we're growing Alabama, not just Etowah County and Rainbow City, but all of Alabama is just thriving right now with the leadership that we've had. It's really done good in the last 5 years or so. That is really,
since I came into office,
2020.
Obviously.
I think
that's what. And I can say this: a lot of things happened simultaneously when I did come into office. The development of One East, the Workforce Alliance, that Economic Development Alliance, that Alabama Power came about and funded this work alliance of economic development and economic developers, and being a part of that, along with having Challenger the new Create Center that Lori Denton's doing
The
over in
workforce
Oxford.
development place on Gadsden
my
State's
gosh,
campus.
Yes, workforce development through Alan Smith and over at which we were signed on. Us and the county commission signed on.
Advanced
as the first,
Manufacturing Center.
Yeah, the first two people
Yeah.
to be a part of that advanced manufacturing center was that Etowah County Commission in the city of Wrangell City. And so, we knew that we could go in and become stakeholders in that and actually change the direction of this region. And it's happening. It's happening every day.
If you think about it, think about the new workforce development place, the Challenger Center, the new Rainbow City Community Center, all the things happening in Gadsden, the new City Hall, all the positives that are moving into Etowah County right now, and just the momentum that we got going. I'm excited about hopefully doing this 4 more years just because the momentum is moving in that direction, and it's fun to be part of it. Fun to be a ship that's taking off and really rising, and the whole community, the whole area is rising because of it. Obviously we still got a few glitches here and there, but we're working on those, and we're working on them together. And I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah, I think I heard Mike Rogers when we had a mayor's roundtable, and Mike came here, and there's not a more humble public servant than Mike Rogers, and I can say that after getting to know him over the last 3 years. But Mike said, you guys are cooperating. He said, and I go a lot of places where that's not happening.
Yeah, I remember he was pointing his
they
finger.
They want to see
around the
your
room.
elected officials.
Yeah. He said, this is how it's done. This is how communities grows, or what did he? I forget what word he used, but how we are successful. I think. Working together. He said, this is how it's done. And he pointed around the room, and it was a bunch of mayors, commissioners, all in the same room working together.
Yeah. Board of Education was there. I mean, I was able to put together a pretty good cohort of the people that are actually moving the needle here in Etowah County and in this region. And when you have people in DC that are watching your area to see what your momentum looks like, that's a different commentary, no doubt.
Well, I want to stress just for a second, and we'll get to some election talk and coming up, and people jumping on with questions. But Jeff and I have been in media a long time. When we saw the amount of people at this event,
it was awesome.
and we said, we'll just get pictures off Facebook.
Yeah.
Our good friend was there. Tony was there for us.
Half Talk and a bunch of people, but it was unreal the amount of people.
It was. I mean, I got there about an hour early, and I was probably 30 minutes late, because luckily I had my parking already laid on for me. Thank you, Farrah.
Taylor, baby.
Yeah, thank you, Farrah. But Wes Allen and I got there at the same time, and the place was already packing out. Yeah. People are excited about what's going on out there, and look, there's no doubt it's the same as building a new ball field, because what you're doing is you're taking the one thing that's so precious to families, and that's their children, and you're honoring those children through your work. And I think that's what's happening at Challenger. I think sometimes we miss that by talking about the educational portion of it, but I think it's the honoring our children that we're seeing, in Challenger. But we counted over 800 people that attended this
revival
thing.
service, really.
It was. I mean, it was
exciting.
If you squinted,
I was just waiting on dinner on the ground.
If you squinted, it really brought back old Jubilee vibes.
Yeah, it did. You could hear Philip Ellen popping off, in the background, but there's no doubt about it.
100%.
It was a great time, just to have people from all over the state of Alabama, because this thing is now becoming a landmark. It's a benchmark of success for this region, and I am a regionalist. I believe that we do all work better together, which has always been Tim's term, but I think we're finding that out that we're working and we're pushing and pulling in the same direction, which is rare in an area.
It's funny when I'm telling people how to get to the Challenger Center, I always say, "Do you know where ZLA is?"
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't go there.
There you go.
Turn around.
You're going too far.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see everyone work together like that. But let's stay on Rainbow City just for a second, because this is the Mayor Joe Taylor Show.
Correct.
And we'll talk election. We'll get to that, I promise you. New red lights up.
Yep. And we're finding out. I know we have everybody in the counties come to find out it's a traffic engineer. I didn't know that going into this, but I could have saved a lot of money for the city just hiring them to do our traffic study. But no, what we're finding out is it's working.
Yeah.
I mean, when you take over 1,000 years of traffic engineering and study ability from AlDOT, and you apply that kind of energy to long-term fix. There's no doubt about that. We're growing so fast. We're going to have some additional infrastructure as we move forward. But it was a good way to create more safety in that zone around our intersection, and it's working. You know, you'll hear people say, well, you know, that we put a light up because of scooters. Number one, we don't get to put lights up. But I can tell you this, the guy that owns scooters, he made a brilliant move by finding out that we did have that traffic control program in place. We had gotten the grant money. This has been 3 years ago. And then he came in about a year ago and purchased that piece of property from the church. And I'm sorry, that's a brilliant business move. Because that dude he's wrapping that building every day.
A lot of people saying we didn't need another coffee shop. I was by there about 3 o'clock the other day, just in the afternoon, turned by there. 5 cars in line.
We still don't have enough of them.
Like,
I'll just tell you.
Maybe we did need another coffee shop, or they love that one of the two. But it's
and that's what I know people kind of get on to me a little bit because I'll go at folks on Facebook, but I just like the truth, and the truth. They say it'll set you free. It's setting me free lately. When it comes to that traffic light, but people go and spend that's $1.5 million project over there. Oh my goodness! He didn't spend $1.5 million to lose money. No. He spent that because he knows that he's going to recover all of his money plus, and it's just good business. I mean, it's just really good business. And
there's one thing you can never have enough of in Rainbow City: coffee shops.
That's true. This place runs on caffeine. I'm telling you, it runs on caffeine, no doubt about it.
A lot of people jumping on the great county commissioner. I'm sorry, not county commissioner. Maybe when you retire, you want to be in a county commission. How about City Councilman Jeff Prince?
Jeff Prince.
He said the area is prime for an economic explosion and development.
Yeah, Jeff's right. I mean, that's one thing that I can say. Jeff's my pro tem, and everybody knows that. And Jeff was the guy that, and he actually said it last night in the council meeting that, I said, Jeff, I need you to serve on this board. I knew I was going to have to come off the board so that I could recruit Challenger into Rainbow City. And Jeff went onto that board. Jeff Boyd, that Tim was talking about a minute ago, works in economic development with me for Rainbow City, and Jeff was serving on the board. So I knew we had the adequate amount of brain power on that board with the two Jeffs. But we kind of played with that just a little bit. I was hearing the rumors and knowing that Challenger was looking at three other cities, as a matter of fact. And, I just kind of bided my time, waited until it was the perfect timing, and did a little area study myself to find out that I was correct in my thinking. I wasn't trying to be right, but just wanted to be correct, that we could bring about an additional over 10,000 students to that center by locating in Rainbow City. And I brought the Challenger Advisory Committee in, brought Martha, Teresa, all of those members in, and I said, look, guys, here's the truth. This is hard fact, and presented them that area study and a piece of property that they're sitting on right now, to prove that location in real estate still matters. That's right. And it especially matters when it comes to bringing students in out of a concentric circle of about 90 miles and out of this 12 county area. We're truly centrally located for this thing.
One thing that excites me, but I want to get it from your perspective. You're the mayor of this city. You love this place, dude. I said Sunday, I eat, drink, and sleep First Church, Rainbow City. Mm-hmm. But you eat, drink, and sleep Rainbow City, period. How excited were you? I mean, I know you're a big sports fan and you get riled. Facebook riles you up. I mean, anything will rile you up. But how fired up are you? I mean, just to be able to get there that day and look out and go, this is really happening. These things that I've planned, it's happening.
Yeah, I was actually up on the stage, and sitting there with Barry Moore, and he leaned over and he said, I've never seen anything like this. And
Barry's seen some stuff.
He has, and he's been all over the world, and he said, I've just never seen anything like this. He said, Joe, the excitement in this crowd is unbelievable. And then I think it kind of set in, just to answer the question, when when I stood up and the applause was like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And, and I'm not that guy. I don't. Yeah.
Joe turned around to see.
I was like, who? Yeah, somebody walked up.
He didn't see me stand up.
Yeah,
that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't. I don't do well with that necessarily. I can manage myself in a crowd, but. To hear because that excitement wasn't necessarily for me. Sure. It was the excitement was for what our city is doing, right. And I love everything Rainbow City. I mean, I bought into this place. I had not been here but 2 years when I ran for mayor, so it wasn't like I was born and bred. Tim's born and bred. Yeah. I mean, they're road named after his family. Yeah. But for me, I learned during the tornado that came through and hit my house that this community is different. They still believe in the Mayberry mentality, and because of that, that day was a incredibly proud moment for me. Incredibly.
Got to catch up on some comments here so people don't get upset.
There's some fun ones in there. I'm looking at this
scroll good right now. I'm going to hang on to that one. A lot of people watching. Johnny Cook's watching. Of course, you got the Butler family watching. Cody Lassiter.
There's Cody. Hey, Cody's coming on with me. I've already given him them.
That's our guy right there, man. Yeah. He said you got to love the red lights. Yep. Jameson Jenkins. I can say he's an employee of the county commission as a council member. That we have had more cooperation in the local government in recent years that we've seen in a very, very long time. And also tell Tim I need a raise.
Tell him to see Kevin.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Andrew Ford, again, another business owner here in the great city of Rainbow City. The red light is not my favorite, but Scooters is excellent. It's been a great addition.
Hey, see, that's a trade-off.
It's a fair trade-off.
I think that's one of the things that we're finding out here is that, we didn't have the albatross around our neck when I came into office of having a downtown. Yeah. Some of these downtowns, because they need revitalized, they're falling to disrepair and decay. We didn't have that. So what we get to do now is begin as a 75-year-old young city to develop a downtown area. Well, that means you're going to have signaling and traffic, control. But all of those things are intended for, number one, for safety. Yeah. And I can speak on AlDOT's behalf here. And Mr. Cooper has become a really good friend of mine. His paramount tenet that he runs AlDOT on is safety. He wants people to be able to get out and travel around this state and enjoy themselves and know that they're as safe as they can possibly be. And, when people say we didn't need another red light, we needed to be able to slow and control traffic in that intersection because we're seeing over 30,000 people come in and converge into that intersection a day. And when I came into office, it was just north of 15,000. So in 5 years, we're doubling the number of people that move through our city. Now that is a great problem. Yeah. It's just that you have to allow infrastructure to stay ahead of that. And this is one of those, and it's a little bit of a short-term solution because we know that there has to be some lanes and some widening and different things like that. But we know that our next project, which will kick off this summer, it'll go to bid, is the widening of 411 down to Lumley Road, which again creates it kind of stretches out our downtown area and allows for us to have road frontage, which brings business and brings medical treatment and all of the things that this city is just blowing up.
Since you're good friends with the AlDOT director, could we get a Kapow exit off of 411 right into the parking lot right over here? We're developing. The church's going to let us put an entrance over here, so we just kind of need.
That's right. A little flyover.
Got a couple more people. We got. Hey, Myra Hawkins is watching.
Mama Hawkins, Mama Coach.
Man, he's doing some stuff in that time.
He really is.
He's doing the thing. Jackie Paul Justice is watching.
Love
hey, Jackie Paul. Man, that's a good one right there.
Who we got? Marty Somerville Southside is watching. Hey, here's a question I need to pose. Sorry, I got to do it. Hey, are you going to get around, Mr. Mayor, to choosing your scholarship winners at Westbrook?
Yes, I've actually got those already done. They're on my desk. So,
on his desk.
I've got that done.
Awesome. It's got it done.
Yep.
I'm just doing as I'm asked.
I love his smirk when you ask questions like that.
I know. Man.
There's things he would say to you off air.
So when I came into office, everybody knows that I dedicated my salary to really SRO students, just anything good, charitable organizations, neighborhood bridges.
Sure.
A big part of my life. The Berry Center is a huge part of my the things that I support. And those things matter to me so much. Anything that has to do with loving and taking care of families and kids is what I want to be a part of. But one of the things I did the first year is I started doing these freshman scholarships. Look, it's $500 that I give to these kids, but they write a letter to the mayor and just kind of tell me how they're going to lay their life out, where they're going from here. And then I get a chance to read those letters. I put a little committee together with Beth Lee and Karen Frost, and we pick. I think first year we did 2 and 2 at Westbrook, 2 at Southside High School, and I think we're doing either 9 or 10 this year. So it's as my money builds up, because they did give me a little bit of a raise, it allows for me to give a little bit more money away. But
how awesome is it reading those letters, though?
Oh, it's incredible, because you actually see, I'm like any other guy from my generation that believes that the underling generations are less than.
Sure.
I've learned 2 things through this scholarship program: that we have kids that are incredibly bright. As a matter of fact, they're so far ahead of my ability just to formulate my life plan. I didn't have one at all, and then
I still don't.
Yeah, still kind of don't. Yeah. But then the second part is the humbling of the Challenger learning experience, where I did get a chance to go to UTC Chattanooga and go through a mission with them, and to only be terminated off of my job as a weatherman by a 5th grade little girl that just said, "You're just not so good at this anymore." And I really wanted to say, "Sis, I was never good at this," but I think it gives you hope in our next generation. I don't have any doubts that we're going to be able to turn this world over to a better generation, because they are smarter and they do strive for things. I just came from the walkthrough where the seniors walk through our elementary school and our middle school, and to watch those seniors come through with pride, and to hear the teachers and the educators say, "Those were my kids." That's special, y'all.
I saw the video of your wife that they did when the seniors walked through Atala. It was so special.
And you watch those little kids light up, because they're seeing those big brothers, big sisters, those mentors into their life. There's some big brother, big sister mentors out of Southside that I saw one of the girls hug her little. It's awesome. Special.
Yeah, it's like they're heroes.
Yes,
the athletes absolutely. And those kind of things. It's pretty special.
My son got to take his last bus ride. I thought it was pretty special. We did the awards day last week, and he baccalaureates tonight, but they left the high school, loaded them up on a big cheese wagon, and took them to the elementary school. It was their last bus ride to the elementary school and back, and they walked through. And he said, "Dad, these kids were high-fiving us." It was really cool. I love that.
They see them as heroes.
They do. They do. Yeah.
Same thing when I see Joe Taylor.
Exactly. Because my hero.
Thing. It is. Couple other things. Kevin Moore's watching.
Hey, Kevin.
Why don't you show up and open the Joe Taylor show with the national anthem?
I mean, for real. I mean, how hard would that be?
Do the dang thing. Do it.
You get your birthday message from him every year?
I do.
I love it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. We need to give you Joe's number. You can send him one.
Yeah, I need that.
So I thought this was pretty nice on YouTube. It said, "Tim, I bet you don't have a red light on your road."
Well, that's something funny, because there's been the whole thing about in the election. Of course, everybody goes, they spar back and forth, but somebody said something about Tim having a paved road. Well, I'm just going to tell y'all, I paved that road. Y'all need to understand that.
Let me tell you something so funny. My dad lives over in Country Club, and him and my Uncle Sherman lived across the street from me. Right? So when Sherman Dever bought that house in Country Club, he goes, "Our road's never getting paved, ever going to get paved," and it still ain't got paved. He said, because they're not going to say, "I got my road paved before I got this other road paved." Yeah. He said, we're screwed. Don't ever have the mayor move to your street.
So speaking of AlDOT, do they just bill Big Country every month?
Sure, they should.
Oh yeah,
for running over those pylons.
Hey, I saw they were messed up a couple weeks ago.
We put a work order in on getting them to straighten those things out. I know. That's another thing that people just love to become an engineer over, is those dividers, and I don't like them. I don't like the look of them more than anything.
They work,
but they work. I tell you, they cut our wrecks down to almost zero.
When they were putting when they were dedicating all that, putting all that in, and the craziness that the people went wild about. I was on the city council at that time, and we wanted to talk to him about, what is this, and can we? This is just, our people are in an uproar, especially Etowah Auto Parts or Rainbow City Auto Parts rather. Kind of blocked them out, and he was a staple of the community that had been in business for years, and so we wanted to defend best we could, and so we got a meeting. One of the senators set it up for us, and we were thinking we were going to engineer going to walk in and talk to us a little bit. 5 of them, maybe 6 people total from AlDOT walks in and drop a book that literally was 6 inches thick and dropped it from an inch or 2 off the. They went and just sat down. Yeah. This is what we go by. When we deviate from it for whoever, they are responsible for what happens on that road at that point. And so it just kind of shut it down. This is our book, and just literally dropped it in the middle of the table.
It's still the best political story ever when we had Big Country on doing his interview, and he's telling the story. Hey, I had to. My kid needed diapers.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Well, one way I was getting over there. So I'm going through that. It was hilarious.
Did he drive through them?
He did. He just went through. He ran over.
And just admitted it in front of God and everybody.
Imagine him, big country, the way he talks and tells. He's a great storyteller. And him telling that story.
That's funny.
It was all about those diapers.
He got those diapers.
Mama needs diapers. You better go get
it. An emergency is an emergency.
That's right.
Hey, so I have a question. I'm not sure who it's directed to from Eddie Dillard. Are there any leases at the mega site? Both you guys are involved in the mega site that you can talk about.
As far as like new tenant stuff, no. I mean, we're constantly getting requests for information, and I'll defer to Tim if he would like to take it over. But the county commission basically took Shane Ellison, who's the chief administrative officer, and Craig Enzer, and they placed them kind of over the mega site as far as any overwatch or oversight. And then I'm that other third person in that group. And we are constantly getting questions about from tenants, from requests for information, requests for quote, that kind of thing. And we know that people are looking and seeing us all the time, especially with, and whether you agree with President Trump or not, the tariffs have moved people back on shore. Yeah. And so, so we know that there's opportunity coming for the mega site. There's been so much money placed into that mega site. And I want to make sure that we dispel any rumor or myth here. That money, very little of that money is actually county or city money. That's money that came through SEEDS grants and
Growing Alabama
grants, and Alabama Power has put $5 million into it. Norfolk Southern about $11.5 million. And when you add all that up, it's about a $50 million advantage that we have right now. It being a true advantage mega site, the only one in the state of Alabama right now that doesn't have a tenant. And so we know that now we're at the place where the position that we had hoped to be in when Craig, myself, and Jim Turnbach met 5 years ago. Our intent was to make sure that we could be selective in making sure that our region grows based on that mega site. And so I'm not trying to take away from what, Tim, obviously on the county commission that's approved and asked for all of that state and federal funding. But y'all, we've gotten millions of dollars that has been invested back into this area, and it takes millions to bring somebody in that's a big tier one.
We were talking about the sewer line that we helped to fund by putting that in there, and how that's going to help the growth of not just the mega site, but of Rainbow City.
Absolutely.
It's an enormous water line and an enormous sewer line that's going toward that. This crossing this whole city.
That's right.
That's it's going to be able to benefit our residents all along the path.
Yeah, I mentioned that last night. We have an appointment. Onto the appointments to the board come out of the mayor's office and approved by the council. But I'm actually on that board, and the county took their ARPA money and dedicated their ARPA money to running water and sewer out there. We dedicated our ARPA money, and so instead of us going out and buying everybody a new pickup truck or painting all the park benches yellow, we decided that we were going to invest in the future of this region.
Long-term investment.
Yeah, and that county investment, while they tend to be more of a regionalized commission, for Rainbow City and for my council to say, hey, we'll take our money and put it towards that as well, because we are very laser focused on inside our borders. But what we found out then was that when we begin to expand our thought process, we open ourselves up for our city not only to grow, but for our county to do better, and for this region to then create that rising tide. And it's happening.
Yeah.
We're seeing that happen now.
Is there one that you can talk about? Is there one that you go, hey, they're pretty serious about coming in and
that's the a lot of people don't understand this. There is there's a circle of people who get to know that, and I'm not in that circle. And, right. and that's fine. That's the way it's built, so that we don't have people out. Where do you stop that circle? Yeah. And so it's Shane and Craig Inzer is our part of that, and then David Hooks, and then Joe Taylor's kind of in that circle too, because he has a big partner in that. He will know stuff before I will, and I'm okay with that. It's just part of Commissioner Washington doesn't know it. The other grants don't know it. It's just we're not in that circle because we don't have to know. When somebody gets serious about we're looking at this, then they make us sign a non-disclosure agreement, and then we talk about it.
I compare it to a military operation, where you had to have a need to know. Yeah. If you didn't have a need to know, you don't get to be shared into or spoken into that conversation. Right. And I guess for me to answer that question would probably be a little bit closer to getting to it. We are constantly sharing information with suppliers and manufacturers and different things. So I can say 5 years ago there was a missed opportunity that brought about Craig Inzer coming to me and saying, let's meet with Mr. Turnbach and let's try to find a way to bring us into annexation. Bring the mega site into annexation, and because you need that, you've got to have city services. They need to be premium. You got to have water and sewer. Yep. Now we've solved all those problems in 5 short years. Now I would have never dreamt that I would ever say 5 short years. Yeah. But we've put ourselves and poised ourselves into a position now that we can actually posture for what we want. Yeah. And I know that's a lot of jargon right there, but you don't want to be the person that gives away the farm. Now we know that we have a farm that has value to it, that's at such a high level, and what it allows to do, because people will say, well, you're just spending money into a dirt pile or a swamp or whatever they want to call it. The truth is it's all about speed to market. Yeah. When we've met with these people, and I've been on those meetings, and I've been on the buses with the people that own these large corporations, and they're global corporations. We're not dealing with somebody that's wanting to go out there and set up a machine shop. Right. We're talking about global corporations. When you're dealing with them, their whole mantra is speed to market. How can we get here? How can we transport? How can we rail? And all of those questions have to be answered. How do we bring in water? What's that water purification process? How clean is the water that we're going to get so that our processes are actually sped up? So it's all about speed and supply chain and logistics and all of those things.
Well, everything you can lay out on the table and take off of their plate and say, we've got that solved for you. You move up the tier till you get to be the one they choose.
Well, it's one thing to give the farm away when the farm sucks. Yeah, but that's not the case here.
No, that's not.
Can I use that word? And that yeah. Sure, okay, sure. It was used. Hey, here's something. There was talk about a veterans memorial. Is that still coming to me?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Big Country. He and I are continuing to talk. About we want to do something just to memorialize the fact that we just did the walk through time, at Old Harmony. I got a chance to present a guy's life that was just an incredible man, and but a war veteran. He was a Confederate guy that ended up showing his allegiance to the United States at the very end after being a POW for a year, and just crazy, incredible stories. But if you walk through our cemeteries throughout this area, you're going to find that we have a very, very high number of veterans that either came out of the service to back home, or that have that are transient and that have moved into Alabama because Alabama is the most veteran-friendly state in the union.
Well, it's named after the Rainbow Division,
right?
Which was a military division, and so I mean that's our namesake.
Yeah, so we're looking at trying to we want to find a really good place for it, and then we as a matter of fact, Chris already has the monument picked out that we want to put in, and then we're going to go into a little fundraising exercise. He's really going to help us more than anything because he's going to basically give us that monument at cost, which is
unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah. Question here. This is directed to you, Mr. Ramsey. This gentleman says he heard that there was some kind of hunting club leased out there or something like that.
Yeah, some of the land that we bought along the way had people hunting on it, and so that was part of their deal. They kept those leases, and they actually do us a benefit. They keep liability insurance on it. They keep people eyes on it. We found out that it ended up being a lot safer for us. They actually had an incident a couple of weeks ago where some people out there who had trespassed the year before and got warned, and that was on video that still had that. They were back on it and had a ATV accident, and the guy ended up getting injured.
Oh, no.
And so they had, I guess their game cameras or whatever had picked them up out there, and they already had the sheriff's office, I guess, on the scene. I don't get involved in that much. And so they did look at it, and they came out there, and come to find out, just so happened it was great because they found them. The guy was still stuck under the ATV with his legs stuck under it, and they were trying to get him freed up. They helped him get him out and got him transported out of there. So it makes it safer. Yeah, I understand that there's some people out there that would like for us just to put that up for bid and whatever else, but it's the people who were already there that had the lease on some of the land that was before the county bought it. From my understanding, it was in place when I got there. I did kind of raise a little bit of concern about it when I first got there, and I thought, well, that's probably a better idea, and just left it alone. So it is there, and so there's some pushback out there, and some we all want to get on it, but right now it's a small group of people. I think there's like 4 or 5 people that lease that, and they do their hunting on there, and they keep it safe, and they keep liability insurance on it, and they're very low impact. And if somebody's coming to look at the property, then it's a very I think Shane called it, hey, we got some people on the property,
don't shoot us,
no hunting, just no hunting right now. And so it's good. There's always people that want it different, and I don't really have that much control over it, but it is what it is, and so I'm going to leave that alone. It is what it is. It's not a.
Well, here's what I learned, and this was by our Secretary of State. If you want votes, talk turkey.
That's right.
That's a hot topic, right?
In fact, he just texted Jerry and said, "How's the turkey?
How's turkey hunting over there? Can he get a part of that?
Can he get a turkey hunt? You'll have to talk to the lease people.
That's so fun. Hey, let's talk election. But before we do, I'm going to get Joe to talk about this, if he will. This is one of those elections where, because this isn't a presidential election, it seems like it's going to be tough to get people to the polls.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's the sheriff is being elected this time as well, so that will help. But the numbers that I saw, the guesstimations, somewhere between 20 and 28% is what's expected. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's the most unfortunate thing is that this year, 2 things. Number one is people need to get out and vote. If you don't get out and vote, I struggle with you being able to complain, because it's not only a God-given right in this country, because I believe it's that way, but it's a veteran earned right. And as a veteran of the armed services, I believe that there are people that have literally lost their life for your right to vote, and they've injured their existence because of your right to vote, to allow for you to have that. And so, that being said, please go and vote. It's a good day. You can make a day of going to vote. It's one of the things that I've instilled in my kids, is that that's an honor to be able to walk into that polling place and lay your name down and your ID down, thanks to Wes Allen, and be able to cast your vote and say, this is what I would like for my future. And then at the end of the day, if you don't get your guy, you have the right to complain. But if you don't engage in the system and if you don't put yourself inside that exercise cycle, I'm sorry, I struggle. When I first became mayor, people would come in and they would meet with me, and and some having complaints, some just thrilled to death that things are going the way they are. But I always wondered if they voted, and so I got in the habit of asking people, did you vote the last time? Did you vote for me or the other guy? And one of the things I love about Larry Furman is that, man, he's such a great man, but Larry Furman will always tell me, I'm going to vote for you next time. And I think that kind of honesty, because he loved Terry John Calhoun, and Terry John had been just a great friend and neighbor of him down in the Bend, but he always is honest to say, I'll vote for you next time. And so I think get out and vote. Man, it's just so critical and important. And the second part to my little rant here, I guess, is that we were required to combine our polling place. And in combining our polling place, which used to be down at the fire station, community center in Riddles Bend, and then our community center here in downtown next to City Hall, we are now we're going to move, and on the 19th of May, everybody in Rainbow City is going to get to come to our, what I'm going to call a community area, and be able to see your friends and cast your vote and go about making change for us, whatever that change might be. And sometimes to me, we overuse the word change and say that we just want to run everybody out. I guess there's times for that. Sure. But, there's also times when we need to look at how are we right now? How stable are we? And come outside and come to your community area. And we're going to have a brand new 58,000 square foot recreation area that we are so proud of. And it's been a lot of sacrifice and hard work for me and my council to take the name of Rainbow City and move it forward by putting something out there for the people that are here.
And that's going to be the first big event, right?
It is. That is going to be, somewhat of our grand opening. We've worked with our contractor and got it so that we get a chance to showcase it, and then we're going to come back about a week and a half later and do an absolute, actual ribbon cutting and grand opening. But you get a chance to see what your tax dollars are doing. Yeah. And I promise you this, every dollar of your tax money is not only accounted for inside Rainbow City, but it's also spent very, very wisely. And I can say that because I am the chief executive officer, but I manage all of the finances along with my staff. And I'm telling you, y'all, when you deal with Crystal Gazaway on a daily basis, and Beth Lee and Cindy Posey and my assistant Karen Frost, I promise you every single cent of that money is accounted for. Well, and it's accounted for in the right way.
I'm not going to feel real comfortable voting this time because Amy Minton's always my security blanket.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She won't be working the polls.
No, I don't think she can. I think because of her being a candidate, she's not going to get a chance to kind of stand in the room. But yeah, that's one of the things that kind of kills me, is that people will say that Amy is, didn't do this or didn't do that. Every time I walk in the polls, Amy was at the polls.
Absolutely right.
Look, we're talking about elections, and you just alluded to something, or no, you didn't allude. You said it. Honesty.
He does,
right? So when you were running, and this is kind of a segue to get to Mr. Tim here. When you were running for mayor the very first time, my parents, my mom and my stepdad, Rick and Sandra Neal, were down at the little park or wherever the meeting was that you guys meet the candidates. And they weren't going to vote for you. And it was because of the rift that you had with my Uncle Sherman, because you were the leader of the firemen's.
We were the counterpoint.
That's right. Yeah. And so they talked to you. And she said this the other day. She said, Joe looked us in our eye, told us the truth, and answered our questions. She said, in that moment, his honesty changed our mind, and we voted for him, and we gladly did it. And that's huge, because we live in a social media time. Jerry and I make a living off of doing social media.
That's a strong word.
We're able to function because and people are always throwing things out there. I heard, and we live in such a small knit community where you can actually go and call or text the candidate and ask them point blank themselves.
Absolutely.
Instead of, if you're gonna vote, do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Ask the candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take people's word for it. Ask the candidate. What would you say to that?
I think that's what I ran on. I ran on, people like to they overuse the word transparency, because the truth is, Scotch tape is transparent, but when you put it over the edge of a gift, you have to tear it apart to actually see what's up under that. So, I'm not against transparency. I think just begin to not use catchphrases and begin to ask the people that are running, what do you stand for? What are you going to do in this situation?
Yeah.
And if you get the answer that we're going to solve every one of your problems, you are dealing with a liar. 100%. And there's no doubt about that. Now, I can say that, and I'm pretty sure in saying it, but, last night we had a guy come into the pre-council, and he walked up to us, former DOT engineer, and he handed us a list of things that needed to be done about his road, and left him with us. Didn't showcase himself. Didn't do anything. When he got through, when the meeting was over, he walked back up, and I said, "Sir," I said, "it thrills me to tell you that you are on our paving list now." And so, but I had to look up and make sure he was on the paving list, because my intent would have been to tell him it's going to be another year or two.
Right.
I'm sorry, but there's only a certain amount of money that can go around. But I think going back to just honesty, I wish that we would stop trying to tear the skin off of the other candidate. There's no sense in that. Terry John and I met. We met in his office, and I told him, I said, "I'll never say anything negative about you. And if you ever find out that I do," I said, "you call my hand." Yeah. And he said, "You do the same." Well, just so happened that just a few weeks later, somebody out of his camp, was not Terry John, I don't believe to this day that it was, made a very, very strong accusation against me that just wasn't true. True about my brother, but it wasn't true about me. But when they did, I went back to Terry John and I said, "Terry John, this person's making this statement." And that day he removed them from his campaign. Wow. That's how you politic.
Yeah.
Now, because the thing about the word politics or politician, it should not have a bad connotation. Right. We've decided to, and look, and it's been deserved. It's been deserved because we got liars and cheaters and thieves, in these elected positions. But we still have to say, going back to your point, we put them there. Yeah. We put them there because we lacked a care enough about our country and our city and our county and our state to go out and exercise our vote. Our vote is so critically important right now of all times.
Well, I would say to make a wise vote. Yep. Make a wise vote. Look at what the people have done. Look at who they are. And just because you recognize a name from a sign, don't bubble them in. If you don't know them, and if you don't know who that candidate is, whether it's Attorney General or whether it's Ag Commissioner or whatever, just don't make a vote on it.
Right.
Let people who know what's going on vote on it. Don't just make a vote because it may be the worst vote.
That's right.
Nowadays
I
would say go back to take your time and do a little due diligence.
Yeah.
And Google's out there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can go and find some information about who somebody is and what they've done if you'll take the time. But if you don't have the time, don't make a bad vote.
It's rare that you can't make 2 phone calls and find out what somebody's number is. And I put my number out on my social media from the very beginning. I said, you can call me. I do miss someone every now and then, and I hate that, but it's rare that I don't return phone calls or at least return a text message or whatever. But the intent of most people that are doing these jobs, and I say local level jobs, is to do good work. They're not going into this to try to destroy anybody's life or hurt anyone. Yeah. There's no gain here.
Yeah.
I can say this, and this is not self-deprecating. I'm not trying to get anybody to feel sorry for me, because it'd be hard for you to feel sorry for me in my situation. But I can tell you, there's not enough money in this. For you to be, continually attacked, or for you to be, your integrity to be questioned. The truth is, I've said it from the very beginning, I'm not a great politician. I want to win. And if I'm winning through my own personal selfishness, if I'm winning, you win with me. Mm-hmm. If you live inside the city. And so the best thing that you can have is an incredibly selfish mayor that wants to do incredible things. And if that affects your life in a positive way, he's not so selfish
There you
anymore.
go.
He's actually looking out for the mass, and that's what I want people to understand about me. I'm not selfish.
Speaking of phone calls, then I'm going to give you an opportunity to. Jameson Jenkins says, side note, I was recently able to work out a deal with a guy who pays $1 every time you have to listen to Joe's voicemail. Last night I earned $178,923.
Yeah.
Rachel and I now have $500,000 between us.
Yeah, let me tell you
Great
something.
segue, Joe.
If it weren't for Jameson Jenkins, I don't know who I would pick on. I don't know who I'd want to hit. But no, Jameson knows. He knows that I'm not going to answer his phone call because you got to tier level these.
It's priority. Sure,
It's priority.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So I'll leave that with you, Jameson.
That's the fight. So now
You know what
Okay,
you
I
are.
got a couple of things I got to touch on the election. And
Yeah.
we were talking. The probate judge was in our meeting this morning, and he was talking about the polling places that we have, and really got to get back on that hard so the people understand this. We went from 30 something, maybe 32, 33 polling places to 19. So Rainbow City's not the only only place. The people in Ivory and Gallant, we combined them on Gallant Road Baptist Church, so we reduced one there. Still pretty convenient. I know it kind of hurts the fire departments because they love having the community there. But and then there's one out Egypt and New Union. That those two communities came together. They're doing it Aurora Baptist Church. So those are the two, along with Rainbow City. And when we got to talk about that again, because I spoke with somebody very dear to me in my family this morning who didn't know that they were voting at the new place. We have to know that the people, especially in Reynolds Bend, understand, and everybody in Rainbow City knows that we're voting on Lumley Road at the new community center across from John Jones School.
Yeah, 300 Lumley Road.
If you will, 300 Lumley Road, if you need to put it in your GPS. If you will, and if you have the option, please wait till 8 o'clock. The school traffic will still be going on. It's going to be a mess this first time. We've got it. There's a plan to redo the road. It just won't happen. I probably won't happen before November.
No, that's
so
for sure.
It's going to be these first two elections. It's going to be a mess. After that, we should be in good shape with new infrastructure.
School's almost out, so
That's right.
Well,
Well, and
it's almost out, but on the 19th there'll be a reduced number of people there, I'm sure.
Well, because all those kids are so smart, they ain't taking finals. The Rainbow City kids.
So they're not going to be there so much, but there will still be a little bit of a mess there at 7:15. If you can wait till 8 o'clock, 8:30 to come vote, but it's on 300 Lumley Road, so that we know that everybody in Rainbow City votes there. I think that's something we've really got to put out there. But back to the polling places and something the judge said this morning. Because we have reduced that, we have enough poll workers now to take care of that, and we will have a officer from the probate office on scene on every polling place, and a sheriff's office deputy on scene on every place the whole time. So that was been a big plus for us to be able to make that happen. It was something the probate judge asked us to do, and it's caused a little heartache along the way, and it's going to be a little bit of confusion to a lot of people.
Well, I think I need to say one thing, because I think that the county's catching a lot of fit over, and that is that Judge Hassel actually called me and said, Joe, we're going to have to combine. Yeah. And but he gave us an opportunity to pick our polling place, which and so if you're going to blame someone about the polling place that we picked the newest building that has the best accessibility, especially for ADA compliance, and the best parking. We did all of those things to make sure that our voters would be more excited to come and vote. We hope that people will show up to vote to see the building. Yeah. And if we can get another 10-15% of our voters to turn out, it's going to be worth every bit of the trouble of a little bit of traffic.
Well, and while I'm on the subject, and I don't know about all the other districts and what they've done, but in Walnut Grove and Altoona, we combined those two to Walnut Grove Community Center, so that they're it's a nice place. Yeah. It's right in between there, and so it should work well for them. Again, it's a change, and a lot of people we're not happy about that, but I want everybody to know the change has happened, and make sure as much as we can put that out there so there's not so much confusion. There is a website you can go to, and just go to etowahcounty.org and look it up. It'll get there, or you can go to the Secretary of State's office and find your place. It's very easy to get to find out exactly where you vote in case you wonder if yours changed and you don't know. So you can do that.
I got a card in the mail.
I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in Tillis and Bend, our side of Glencoe, Hopes Bluff, towards towards Gadsden by the county line, you got to go to the new East Gadsden Community Center.
Mm-hmm.
It's where everybody's got to go over there. So that's a huge change.
So let's pretend that people don't know who you are.
Yep.
What are you running for? You're running for re-election, and let's jump into that.
I am Tim Ramsey. I'm the current county commissioner for District 4, and that includes the whole southwest side of the county. Seems like it's a huge area. The biggest problem I have in my area is roads. They call me the road guy at Etowah County. People in Rainbow City really don't have road problems, and the mayor takes care of that in a very big way. He's helped me a lot. I actually went out in the community the other day handing out pamphlets that just showed the roads that I paved, because out there they say, well, they don't ever get anything. I am really focused on that side of the county because the mayor has taken this burden off of me. A lot of places in Rainbow City that he takes care of this stuff. So really it's all west of Attala where I would say 80% of my stuff happens. Right now we are doing Pleasant Valley Road, which is a $3.2 million project. Wiregrass finally showed up today. I didn't say finally showed up. I guess I shouldn't have said that, but it's a long process. We started that in like 2021, getting that on the MPO TIP program, which is the Transportation Improvement Plan, and got that.
There's that.
Sorry.
There's that.
Well,
it's okay.
Here's side note. I didn't know if I was going crazy hearing a beep.
I heard it.
So I'm like, is that just in
you
my
check
head?
The cameras?
Yeah, I was checking the cameras to make sure we weren't about to be blown up.
I heard that too. I thought somebody's hearing. I thought my hearing aid was changing.
We got that Pleasant Valley Road. Wiregrass is on the scene. They're doing that this week, and it'll probably be a 4 to 6 week process to get it, but it's going to be slick as a button. The next thing we'll have is everybody speeding on it. We'll be getting a lot of complaints about how fast people are going on Pleasant Valley Road, more than the past.
Normal, yeah.
But we're up, like 81%. I put these numbers out there. Road improvements in District 4 are up 81%. That comes, and I'm going to have to give credit for the Rebuild Alabama. About half of that is Rebuild Alabama. That's putting $1.75 million in our budget to pave roads this year. But about half of that is from the road guy being in the room on the county commission, fussing weekly almost about the people in my district are fussing about roads. I got 2 calls today. I get 2 calls about every day about a road, and I just, get them to the engineer, and that's my job, is to get him the information. And then my other job is to get him money in his budget. And since 2019, there was $1.9 million from wherever the CFO could drag it. Ad valorem taxes, anywhere we could find some money, he was putting $1.9 million more in the road budget. This year, and I'm going to take some of that credit, for the road guy, there's 3.9. Another $2 million is going into that road budget because I'm squeaking. I'm the wheel. This telling we've got to have more, and we're still not doing enough. We have 820 miles of road to keep up in Etowah County and county road miles. We're doing about 20. The math don't work. We need to be doing 60.
Wow.
We have got to do something. I'm going to go. I asked them to put me in. They did. On the legislative committee, I'm going to go to Montgomery and see if we can't start working on some legislation that will redirect some money toward the county and the city infrastructure and the county from, either from rebuild, which is going to be hard to do, or, if we just do some preemptive legislation, if they ever pass a lottery, that this money will be divided half for education and half for infrastructure, because they've been talking an education lottery every time I've heard it come up. And I'm all about education. But our infrastructure is falling apart. Our school buses are running on unsafe roads. We need half of that money going to infrastructure. And I would like to see us as a league of municipalities and the county association spearhead together and see if we can't push some legislation that would help that to that means.
Right.
I'm not sure that we can't get a clean lottery bill with us fighting together, that we could push enough for that, because it always just, it gets kind of beat up by the people that want large casinos everywhere.
Right.
And I want it just about that little lottery ticket that we're sending money across the state lines. Let's keep that money here and put it in our infrastructure.
Think about the gas money
and do those things with it. So I've got a plan to help with that. I've done about all I can do. It's going to continue, hopefully, to trickle in and get a little bit bigger. But we really need. And I showed these numbers to Mayor Taylor, and he just shakes his head. And no wonder we are where we are. I showed him the numbers that I was passing out the other day, and I appreciate your help in the roads in Rainbow City that are actually county roads. He's actually taken over a couple of them, Township and Pyramid Lake. We kind of got them ready. And
don't show Joe a problem; he'll fix it.
And so, It's a big problem. Yeah. The people in Rainbow City, don't really have road problems. The people in my other part of the district have severe road problems.
Let me ask this question. I heard from another commissioner, and I don't remember which one it was. You guys all get an X amount of discretionary funds, and that you put a huge percentage of that into roads.
Yeah. Well, I did. I mean, we all get $110,000, which goes nowhere on paving the roads.
Sure.
A couple of years ago, I put $86,000 of those $110 on Pleasant Valley Road for one of the phases of getting it ready for what we're doing. Commissioner Washington, love him to death.
Never heard of
him. He helps me. He has a lot more community things that he needs. We get $50,000 worth of community money that is discretionary money that we help volunteer fire departments and libraries and schools and everybody else with. He has more need in that. I have plenty of need in it, but I just finished the deal this morning, was able to swap him $15,000 of those dollars, and I got $30,000 that I can spend on roads. It has to be spent in the category it's in.
Right.
And so I got $30,000 for my 15. Now I did rob from the fire departments and whoever else I'd love to give that to, but I put $30,000 in road money. And part of the reason I did that was Randall Green out at Walnut Grove was he's trying to pave Murphy Valley Road. He's got a bad spot in it, and it's going to be about $90,000. He had 70, and so I said I'll try to give you 20. And so I was going to do a 10 for 20 swap, and then I realized I can't do Walnut Grove without doing Altoona, and so went back to Jeff, and we did a 15-30 swap, and I just split the two 15s, one to Altoona, one to Walnut Grove. You do what you can, and that's it. I mean, you're just working. The roads are terrible in that side of the world. We had a estimate on Bluff Road, which needs to be redone big time. There's 12 poultry farms on it. We got trucks running it crazy, and it needs a $2.7 million fix. I don't have $2.7 million. I got in touch with the USDA trying to find some farms to market. Money, got Atlanta Grant, Atlanta Ballou. I got her on my phone, Atlanta Grant.
She'll write a grant.
Yeah, she'll write a grant in a heartbeat. But I got her looking for some money that we can possibly put toward that road. We don't have $2.7 million, and the MPO don't reach that far out of town.
Yeah.
So
if you got 37% interest, Joe will lend it to you.
He will lend it to you.
Just saying, trying to help. Roads is something I think everyone can get behind, right? That's something that
well, even if your road's okay, you got friends and neighbors, their road's not okay.
Right. And you're talking about if you just put the price tag on what actual infrastructure costs are, if you talk about grinding, which is what's normally done on a state highway, taking the road surface up and then putting the road surface back on, that's $1 million a mile. If you go into a city road, in my case, we have more narrowed roads because we don't have to have the passing because of speed and that kind of thing. We do about $200,000 a mile. And so you talk about every time you pave a road, and this year I think we're going to do about $2 million in road projects inside the city limits. It does relieve some for the commissioner, but it doesn't relieve at all because he's still got 100 miles of road.
No, I got 200
miles
212 miles of road that we're trying to keep up.
And the money
in my
can't go that far. Just can't go that far. And so if you start looking at those costs, and we've done everything we possibly can. I mean, the city does. We do a thing now where we day rate. Having a paving company coming in because we know that we can save on mobilization, and these are small money. $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, which inside a family is a lot of money. Inside the government, not so much. But we're looking at saving those $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on each one of our projects so that we can get another road done. Right. And that's how we've been so successful. We've paved over 85 roads. We only have 100 and something roads. So our roads are A, B, and C. We've got very few. We don't have any D or F roads, but we do have some C roads that now, if you look at them in comparison to a road, it's a bad road. Yeah. This neighborhood out here that we're planning, your neighborhood, that we're planning to do here at Druid Park, is one of our next projects. But we know that it's costly, but it's one of the things that we need to tackle next. And so we just go to the next thing, and just fortunate that we can do it when I can just tell you they cannot. Yeah. And that's, I don't know another way of saying it.
And this neighborhood here, it's so many. You think Mayberry, you brought Mayberry. Mm-hmm. You got people walking their dogs and strollers, and it's an amazing neighborhood.
Well, I think that's one of the things about y'all's church is y'all's church sits right in the middle of Mayberry. Yeah, I mean, it really is that. And then to watch, when you guys do your feeding program and do your food pantry, to watch this place wrap and for needs to be met, and and then to see my police department out there, guiding people in. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's Americana. I still believe in the American dream. I still believe that we're a special, special place. And if nowhere else in the world, I want that to happen right here in Rainbow City, just so I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
So there's my selfishness again.
Tim, we're running out of time. Now's your opportunity to ask for the vote.
All right. Let me give me 1.5 minutes or whatever. I need to tell you that I'm here for a third time on a reason for mental health. I've been working my rear end off on the roads, and it's just a big deal. But this mental health initiative that we've started in Etowah County is one of the best and biggest things I've ever been part of. It's got my heart. It's got my enthusiasm. We have got to work on that. I'm going to go, like I said, to Montgomery. I'm going to be working on infrastructure, but I'm also going to work on funding toward mental health. We need a therapist in all of our schools. We've got an SRO now, and we need a mental health therapist. We got 3 that cover the whole county. That's one of the things that we really got to go for, is trying to get some more help for our students in their schools, and then, of course, our whole community. But starting with our students in our schools, if we could nip that problem or at least address it early, then we don't end up with such a big problem later on. I would appreciate your support, people out there. If you trust me, if you believe in me, don't just count on going and getting your vote. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. Let's put this thing back together. Let's continue moving forward 4 more years, and I'm sure we'll move forward after that. But 4 years is what I'm going to give. And I said this 8 years ago. I wasn't going to do this again, so I kind of stopped short of that. I don't see me in the county commission again. If I do anything, it'll be on somewhere else. But I don't even see that. I see me volunteering other places and doing some stuff. But this part of what I do right now, I want to do it hard the next 4 years. Put me back in there one more time. Vote May 19th, Tim Ramsey, and let's get this thing, keep it going. Joe Taylor can pick on me 4 more years, whatever. Maybe he'll get on you.
So, hey, but before we close out here, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to talk about it's a police officer awareness or appreciation week.
It is. It's a police officer appreciation week, and I tell people all the time, I love my police department, I love my fire department, but ours is about leadership, and I'll say from Camp Yancey all the way down to our youngest police officer, each one of those guys are in a leadership role, because that police officer, that SRO, we doubled up our SROs in our schools so that our kids can be safe, so that our officers can be safe, so our teachers don't have to try to be defenders of their own property, But I can say this, without our police department, this city cannot thrive and grow. And we know that. And that's one of the things that I just have to always brag on my city council, including Jameson. We believe in keeping a safe place. And when we have a safe place, people clamor here. They want to be inside our city. We see that in recreation. We see that in people that live outdoors. We're an outdoor living city, where we enjoy recreating and being outdoors and being at the ball field, and now our community center and our aquatic center. I don't know how to thank our police officers any more than I already have. And, it's something that last night I'm working on an incentive plan for our police and fire, so that we can give them just that little extra piece of money per week and per month, just to let them know that we see them. Yeah. We know what their value is, and there's no doubt that some of the younger guys that are working for Rainbow City now don't remember the time when they didn't have really nice police vehicles and they weren't highly equipped. All of that stuff has been done by a cohesive council in Rainbow City, and honestly a mayor that cares about them quite honestly, more than they can care about themselves at times.
Jeff, we'll get you to close this out, but again, very special for you too with your son being a police officer.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
We'd take him.
I don't like it. I begged him to choose another field, but he loves it, and pray for him.
He's good.
My prayer life is way better. I promise you.
Yeah,
it's way better.
But you're watching to see how fast he's driving. It's not.
I hate it.
That's killing my brother.
And I think that's one of the things, Jeff, is that we talked about it. People don't realize until you've got a son, daughter, husband, wife in law enforcement, and they don't realize what you guys go through. It's tough. It's very tough.
It's very, very tough. But we're thankful for him, and thank you, Camp, and all of you guys in law enforcement. We appreciate you, and we pray for you every day. Tim, Commissioner Ramsey, Mayor Taylor,